Hi everyone, I think we're pretty much live. So, morning everyone, and well, if anyone was going to cause technical difficulties and any delays, it was going to be me. So I'm really sorry. I'm kind of in the middle of Wiltshire and I'm even connected old school by a cable and it still doesn't like kind of stuttering and stuff. That is probably me and not just the internet connection. We're also going to try to do my presentation via the Comms Hero team, because as soon as I put it on here, the connection was like, no thanks. So here we go for the kind of perils of remote working, I suppose. And I'm glad to know that I'm the first casualty that Asif and his team have had. So apologies for that, but we thought it would be. So what am I here to talk to you about today? Well, I'm here to talk you through kind of a personal brand journey, I suppose, and why it matters, why it's important, probably now more than ever, and ultimately what it means for you and your organisation and your career moving forward. So for those that don't know me, my name's Amy Nettleton. I am the Assistant Development Director at Asda and I look after the sales and marketing function for them. So what we do, we build houses, we build about 1,000 homes a year, and me and my team are responsible for selling circa 300 to 400 of those across the southwest and southeast of the country for affordable housing, namely shared ownership. I've kind of done that all my life. So my former job, I think Nick Cullen's with us as well. So I used to work with Nick up in Leicester, where I was sales manager doing the same kind of thing. So that's pretty much my bread and butter, selling properties and just being in the housing market. So alongside all of that, you'll have probably, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll kind of know that I like a good glass of wine, I like a gin, horses, and obviously unicorns, which we'll talk a little bit more about in this Prezi. So, thank you, Lee. So right on cue. So really what I want to talk to you about is why it's important for your personal brand journey. And I want to talk you through my journey, what it's done for me, and how I think it can really benefit, especially in these kind of times. So my main kind of pillars, and yes, they are on wine bottles, unashamedly myself. You've just got to be brave, you've got to be bold, and really what's got to shine through all of this is you, yourself. And if you try and hide that, if you try and be somebody else, you will get found out. And equally, you won't get the most of what a proper networking circle, a proper brand can give you, and you won't see yourself to your full potential. So Lee, can we move to the next slide? So again, networking, I think, like what you're doing today, and this virtual platform, connection permitting, is brilliant. So I've seen how you've all been kind of virtually networking on your tables, in the social lounges, and that is now more important than ever before. We don't have the opportunity now to go and kind of see each other, meet people for a coffee, meet people for a drink. So how do we actually take that social element of networking to better our brand, better our career prospects, and also elevate our company's profile? How do we do that? Probably with just the tools that we've been given. And unashamedly, because I'm a girl, we've changed networking to, Lee? Obvs. So again, how do we, we're going to talk through now just how we kind of look through this and why it's so important and how you can make a difference. I think the main thing is that without all of this, we all wake up in the morning, we all join our kind of organisations to do the best that we possibly can, and ultimately to make a difference, no matter how big or how small that is. And ultimately, what is your why, and why do you do that, and why are you at your organisation, and why do you hold dear to you the things that matter, and what is your brand, and what are you known for? So I think, again, like I said to you before, the credibility is so, so important, and the authenticity. So if we just move on, Lee. And again. So again, building your brand is ultimately you want to do it to make a difference. You want to do it to, no matter what sector you're in, to actually feel that you have enriched somebody's life, whether that's your own or your clients or your colleagues. And ultimately that when you finish at the end of the day, you feel like you're being known for something, recognized for something, and your why has been certainly fulfilled. So a bit about the brand that I suppose I'm personally known for and how that kind of then transcends through to the career that I've chosen and my organisation. So thanks, Lee. So again, as I spoke to you around being authentic, it's one of Asif's big mantras: be yourself, unashamedly yourself. So the picture, Brand Amy in person, pretty much my mouth is open all the time. That's apparently my go-to selfie position, which, you know, obviously, yeah, it probably makes my face look a bit thinner. So that's probably why I do it. So that's who you see in person. But what's really, really important is that what is your brand on all the different mediums, especially now, as you probably are really restricted in meeting people in person. So how else do you get your kind of point of view and your brand across? So Brand Amy in print shows that is what I'm kind of known for day in, day out. There's a slide there, Lee, if you want to click. So what that shows is that that's my passion. My passion is shared ownership. My passion is affordable housing. And that's who I am. I remember some time ago me getting quite confused and a little bit worried. I remember sitting a few years ago saying, oh my God, I don't just want to be known for shared ownership. I want to be seen as much more diverse than that. I want to be seen as having much more depth than that. So one-dimensional as just being known as shared ownership. There's got to be so much more about me. And somebody once said to me, well, why? Because that's your passion and that's what you know. That's what you're an expert in, and that's what you specialize in. And as soon as I'd made friends with that, as soon as I'd realized that that was quite powerful and not a negative, was as soon as things started to fall into place for me. I had a goal, I had a reason to kind of have commentary, I had a reason to have an opinion, I had a reason to want to formulate what change I wanted to see. And suddenly, the noise that I'd created previously when I thought I was engaging started to get cut through. And the reason for that was that I wasn't scared anymore of being known for one thing. And I think that's really, really important. I think if you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're not going to get the results that you want and that you deserve. And it took some bravery because there are going to be some people that actually don't want to hear about shared ownership or don't agree with me. So I'm going to have that come against. But equally, it gave me the platform and the kind of room to really show my strength and my skills in what I'd believed for so very long. And being brave enough to be known for something and be an expert in something, I think is so, so important. So if we could move on, Lee. So the kind of main key points here for you is that, like I've just said, you've got to take ownership of who you are. You've got to be that person all the time. Bad days, good days, in person, on Twitter, on Insta, on wherever you are, even on TikTok. Yeah, I've done a few TikToks. I'm pretty bad though. But what that gives you is it gives you that ability to understand your audience. And for me, I've always understood who my customer is. I've always known how to sell a product because I've always had the remit that people buy people. So the product that we sell was somewhat secondary. I had to make sure that as a person, as a salesperson, and as a team that I was creating, that I was creating a team of people that people wanted to engage with. And that is so, so important. You've got to be accessible. And we're going to come on to this later. This isn't a 9 to 5. This isn't a kind of, I'll do it within my working day and I'll just show them who I am. This is who you are. And I get a lot of questions saying, oh, I don't want to overshare. I don't want to show people too much about me. You're in control of that. You show people exactly what you want them to see. But equally, please don't be fooled that people don't know when you're not being authentic. You spend most of your time at work. The fact that you may not be the person that you think you are at work versus home is probably wrong. You probably package some things up and leave, but you are who you are. And actually showing some vulnerabilities, showing your hobby, showing your loves, showing your dislikes just makes you much more of a credible and likable person. And it also shows people who you are and why you stand for what you stand for. And I can't overemphasize enough the consistency. It is so, so important. And this comes back to, again, just being that little bit of an expert, being that person that has an opinion on something that matters and that you're known for that. Thank you, Lee. So, I mean, I haven't got it on today, but I have got a Comms Hero t-shirt on, obviously. But the best Comms Hero t-shirt is always be yourself unless you can be a unicorn, then always be a unicorn. And I suppose part of this is just being yourself, but equally don't lose the magic that's you. Don't lose your energy. Don't lose your flaws. Don't you lose the things that you've overcome to make you who you are, because that is part of you and your brand. And that is part of what will make you so successful. Thanks, Lee. So these are kind of some of the images that I share a lot, I suppose. I'm probably an oversharer, but hey, so what? And don't forget, so as I'm looking at the screen, top left, the cool dude in the sunglasses with way too many cowlicks. It's why I shouldn't have a fringe. But don't forget what dreams and hopes you had as that child. Don't forget what made you the adult you are today. Don't forget what drove you. Don't forget what made you happy. And equally, don't forget what made you sad, because they'll be the injustices that you actually wish to change. And the journey that you went on from that kid on the left to that big kid on the right is who you are, and that's your tapestry. And I've learned over the years that actually there's a reason why I ended up in doing affordable housing, safe and secure homes and places to live. There's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that we had a pretty horrid kind of childhood with my mum and dad, nasty separation. And my brother is, which a lot of you will already know, but my brother has battled all of his life with major drug addiction and has had to use the support network of hostels, rehab, all of those things that we do within the housing sector, the affordable housing sector, that we ensure is there and as a safety network. And I think now more than ever, this is so important. And I know firsthand that when a family can't cope, they need that network where someone is going to pick someone up and look after them. So never ever underestimate what's on the face of somebody. People always kind of go, oh, you've sold your soul, Amy, selling affordable housing. You're only interested in that. There's much more depth to people. And this is where we go back to the networking at the very beginning, why it is so important to make sure that you take the time to get to know your network and get to know them properly. Because only then, when you get to know people properly, you unlock a different enrichment. You unlock a whole different level of relationship and understanding that will not only better you as a person, but will equally better how you manage your career, what decisions you make, and how you position yourself to the bits that you want to change and influence. So the big quote there, I think, is really important. And especially now more than ever, when so many people are struggling, just how you make others feel about themselves says a lot about you. So take the time for yourself as well. You can pop on again, Lee. So again, I can't emphasize this enough. You have got to do you. Find out who you are and really who you are and what you stand for and what your brand is and why you want that brand and what are you trying to influence? What changes do you want to see? What do you want to make better and who for? And ultimately, why? I touched upon this before, and I get this a lot. Oh no, we're just too busy. You must just be on social all the time, Amy. You're doing this all the time. And yeah, I am. I'm not going to sit here and say, no, it doesn't really take a lot of my time. It does. And it took a lot more time than it takes now, because I've built my networks and I've built my relationships, and I know what relationships matter, and I know what conversations to have, and I know what to say and when to say it. But please, please don't think that you want to get the cut through, or you want to make the changes, if you can only commit to doing this within your working day, and that is it. I think there's a good quote around the time thing, is that people make time for those that matter. People text and reply to those that they prioritise. So what's your priority? And I think the minute you answer yourself that question, you'll understand what your why is and how actually important it really is. So alongside all of the personal brand, and alongside all of the unicorns, the gin, the running, not so much anymore, the horses, is my day job. And it's what I love to do. I've got an amazing team. I work at Astor Group, and I am there. I look after all their sales and marketing. So that is the door, and that is the platform that allows me, and I'm very, very fortunate that I have an employer that does allow me to see the benefit in this personal brand and in the amount of extracurricular stuff that I wish to do. But alongside that, there's some other little bits that I kind of get involved in as well. So I chair the NSG, which is the National Sales Group. So that's a group of over 90 developing housing associations across the country. And I chair that to influence policy changes, and to also make sure that as a sector, there is a network there that new people coming into the sector feel that they have people to go to and discuss things with. I've also been suppose on the power players list for a couple of years now, and again, this is one of those inter-industry kind of pat on the back things of how influential your peers see you. And I've been very, very fortunate to be nominated for 2 or 3 years on the trot. Again, been fortunate to be singled out for our work at Astor around leading on tech in selling homes. So again, things being recognised when I really, really just honed in on what my specialism was. And last but not least, co-founder along with Asif of Socha Hour, which is an amazing community that we've managed to build over the past few years, where we have weekly Twitter chats and live chats. We've taken a bit of a break over summer, but we're back next week. And what's been really great about that is I touched upon earlier around people actually not agreeing with you and challenging you. The great thing about Socha Hour is that we open ourselves up to an arena of people that are very anti-shared ownership, anti-leasehold, and will never agree. We will never agree on a position. But what we've managed to do is change the narrative a little bit on that. And negative connotations and negative feedback is just as important as people that agree with you, if not more. And what we've managed to do is we've managed to build those connections within our network and give them a platform and let them teach us something as well. Are we so blinded by something that we think is brilliant that we're missing out on the negatives on it? And that's a really important area for me, because, you know, I do that with Asif every week. So we ultimately can make shared ownership better, and we can change and influence any policy. So how am I going to do that better? Well, I'm going to do that better listening to things that people feel are wrong about it. So if you haven't ever joined us, or if you want to join us, then we're live next Wednesday at 8 p.m. So it'd be great to see as many of you there. And I think ultimately, what does all this mean to your employer? It's all well and good, isn't it? Great, Amy, you go off and do all this oversharing and make out how great things are. But what happens to your employer in the day job? What do they get out of this? Well, they get a motivated employee. They get an employee that's very grateful that am allowed and supported in doing all of this. And they also get exposure. I'm very lucky to have been asked to speak at many events, including this one, across the country over the years, going from the national housing conferences right down to the local gatherings. But this doesn't happen overnight. You know, I remember coming off stage at Manchester once at CIH and somebody saying, oh my God, like, how did you get there? I want to do that. I can do that. I was like, yes, you can. You absolutely can. But you need to be prepared to go and speak to 3 people in Taunton Village Hall for a couple of years first, because that is so important. And this, again, is investing the time and building the brand. Aside from that as well, I've been very lucky to be invited to Parliament to discuss housing policy, to go to select committees, and for them to hear what I think on new shared ownership policy and housing policy and what that means moving forward. And it also means you get awards. These were a long time coming. But the recognition that we got from this and these awards was huge. Do they matter ultimately? No, they probably don't. But do they mean something? Damn right they do. And what that means is those hours and hours of work that we, the team, put in, but ultimately the sacrifices that I make to make sure that we are the best that we can be, and we are constantly leading from the front, and we are constantly, while I'm kind of at the helm of the Astor ship for sales, that we are known for shared ownership, we are known for pushing boundaries, and we are known for always being available. And I think that kind of surmises and comes to the end of the Prezi. And the summary points for me really are, please find out why you think you want to build a brand. I think we've got more time at home now than ever. I think a lot of people will be reevaluating what matters and what doesn't, which is great. And I think you have the time and space now to be able to really start to build the foundations, to start to reach out to people that will probably be more willing to be able to have a chat and really start to see where this can go for you. But never think that it's going to happen overnight. Never think that it's not going to take any time, and never think that you're going to be disagreed with, because you will be. But that's what makes you great, and that's what makes you who you are. And I cannot stress enough, just be yourself. Don't try and hide who you are, because whenever we're allowed out again, that will show through. And there is nothing more lovely than when you meet somebody in person who you've engaged with over email, on Twitter, on Facebook, or wherever. But when you meet them in person, A, they look like who they're supposed to look like, and B, they are who you think they are. They've got the same energy, they've got the same sense of humor, they've got the same opinions, and they feel the same to you in person as they do on screen or on an email. And I can't stress that enough. So that's the kind of end of my Prezi, and I hope it wasn't as tech ridiculous as it was earlier, Asif.
Congratulations, Amy, we've made it. Well done. Let's just have some emoji before we start. We've got loads of great comments, so I'm going to pick up on a couple of questions as well. So really informative stuff there. I know people have picked some stuff up from that, but let's have a look on and socials. Let's have a look. We have Kasira Ahmed, loving Amy Nettleton's presentation on ComZero. Be bold, be brave, be you. Not as easy as it sounds, but gets easier when you start believing in yourself.
Yeah, true.
Hashtag be brave, hashtag make noise, hashtag love yourself. We've got Jodie Green, who works in Amy's team.
Hi, Jones.
Yeah, she's asked for a pay rise. No, she hasn't. But you absolutely encourage your whole your whole team to be these 3 things, and that is true. Actually, I can vouch for that. And Emma Warnacott from North Devon Homes, Squeak, her dog, has been very excited about Amy Nettleton's ComZero talk today.
I don't know whether that is that good to excite a dog. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing.
It is. You talk like you're like our resident Dr. Doolittle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's pick up the question. So Chloe Peach, who's comms and marketing assistant at Honeycomb Group, what's the best way to get staff on board with sharing their own personal brand stroke opinions as part of an organisational social media account? Good question.
Really good question. And I think I might be a bit controversial here. You know, if they're not going to want to do it, they're not going to do it. It's as simple as that. You can try. It's like the old thing of you can lead a horse to water. What I would say is instead of trying to get everybody to do it, there'll be at least 1 or 2 gems that just take to it, enjoy it, love it. They may not be the person that you think it's going to be or you want it to be, but that doesn't matter. And I think invest in them, show them and give them the support. And then once they start getting the recognition, the cut through and seeing the benefits of it, all of a sudden, those people that are like, no, they'll probably get a bit of FOMO and they'll want to be involved. But there's nothing worse than watching people engage on social that don't want to do it. And it is so orchestrated. It's like organized fun. It's just not fun. So my thing would be, make sure that if that's a prerequisite of your team, make sure that you're recruiting people that do that and can do it. If it's a change within your team and you're wanting them to do it, there are going to be some people that will never do it. So pick the people that you think will. And again, like I stress, it may not be who you think it will be.
Yeah.
And lead from the front as well. You show them what you mean and you show them how important it is and the bar and standard that you set and what you see as acceptable.
Yeah, great answer. Thank you. So we've got Kevin Campbell, right, who's Public Affairs and Comms Manager at Together Housing Group. Personal branding is more important in portfolio careers than single progressive ones. Do you think COVID-19 will make that kind of career move accessible / acceptable?
That's a big question, Kev. Jeez. Yeah, I think there's going to be so many opportunities coming out of this. I think there's going to be so many different paths that people wish to take. And equally, I think there's going to be so many different areas of how people wish to communicate and actually get cut through. So like we said at the beginning of the presentation, how do you network now? How do you have that conversation with somebody that you would only meet once a year at a conference? Because although you can have virtual platforms such as this, there's still no substitute for seeing somebody in person. But we all are in the same boat now. So whereas before, if you didn't feel comfortable in doing that, you've got the opportunity now that no one's doing it. So you have the opportunity to find different ways to get that cut through. And you'll be subject to different ways of suppliers, clients wanting to get cut through with you. And just take a minute when you get that, when you receive that email or you get a bit of direct mail or somebody rings you, take a minute to just sit and see how that feels. Does it annoy you? Is it lazy? Do you think, oh God, shit, yeah, I'm going to get in touch with them? Or is it just a lot of noise? And start to formulate what kind of gets you going and what you think people have made a difference for. And then start to think, how can you replicate that cut through in your own industry, in your own client base, and in your own journey? Because there's nothing, I've had so many emails of, oh, hi, just checking in again. I think the last one got put in junk. No, I didn't respond to you because you're lazy. So it's around, I get people like, oh, we'd really like to work with you. Can I send you a portfolio? No. If that's how lazy your approach is to me, how lazy are you going to be if you actually work with me? And I think at the moment, especially creative people, you should be smashing it at the minute.
Excellent. Kevin was also one of in the live chat. I'll just go to his comment. He said there's nothing wrong with loads of wires. He's got more wires than NASA mission control. So keep my connection time. And I hope you don't mind being called Kevin.
Oh, sorry, Kevin.
Right. Okay. So there's no thumbs down emoji, or else I think he's been clicking him like mad. Let's have a look. So Emma Wanacott. So this is a question from. Is it a question from Squeak? I think it is actually.
What, the dog?
Yeah.
What kind of dog is it?
Great session. I don't know actually. I'm not up on dogs, so hopefully Emma, we'll drop it in the chat. We'll let you know. It's a great session. What advice would you give to someone starting out in the industry and having a full-time job?
Is that the dog or Emma?
That's Emma. That is on behalf of.
Okay.
It looks like a border terrier from Keith Riley.
I like those. Okay, so what advice would I give? I think you've got to find your specialist. You've got to find what you're an expert in. You've got to find what is your thing. Because if you are really busy and everybody is really busy, what do you want to make time for, and what's your passion, and what are you still going to have the energy at the end of the day when you've had a really crap day, when you've walked squeak, when you sat on the sofa and you want to watch Selling Sunset or The Real Housewives? What do you want to do instead of that to get your brand or to get your cut through, and how do you do that? And that is so, so important, because if you think, oh, well, I'll do a bit of this and I'll do a bit of that, you won't do it because it doesn't mean anything to you. It's the same for me every morning. I think I'm going to get up and go for a run every morning. I'm not, because I don't want to, right? But do I want to talk about shared ownership at 11 o'clock at night? Yeah, damn right I do. So what you've got to do is find out what your priority is. And equally, does it really matter, or do you think it matters? And the minute that you feel that it matters massively, you will do it.
Excellent, thank you. And Emma's confirmed she's a frog, Frenchie and pug. So
nothing like a border terrier.
Well, blame Keith Riley for that. And just, you need to tell people about your Crufts connection and your mum and all the rest of it, just whilst I'll get the next question up.
My mum is a top breeder of Irish setters in the country, and she's won best of breed at Crufts many, many years, and she's been in the big ring best in show many a time as well. So I am a dog show daughter completely.
Excellent. So let's have some more questions then. So Conor O'Keefe, who's the marketing and campaigns manager at Longhurst Group. So what better way to inspire your team than put yourself out there? How can you ask your team to be present, creative and innovative if you're not doing that yourself?
You can't. Simple. How you can't? You've got to lead from the front. You've got to show them what your standard is. You've got to show them what your passion is. And I think I alluded to it a little bit before, the personal side. Your team have got to know who you are. Your team have got to know why you're so passionate and why it means so much to you. And if they don't, and if you don't show them that, how the hell do you expect them to give everything that you want them to give to reach the goals that ultimately you want, but for the team? So no, there's just no way, and it would be wrong to ask them to if you're not going to be prepared to do it yourself. But the main thing for me is show your team who you are and why it matters so much, because that will give them a different level of just you asking them.
Great, thank you for that question, Conor. Hopefully that answered. Give us a thumbs up if that did give you the answer you wanted, Conor. Keith Riley's come back. In my defence, the colouring and the angle of the photograph of Squeak led him to think it was a border terrier. A better guess than myself would have given anyway. So let's go to Twitter. Claire Knight, who's been a regular attendee during the course of the week. So thank you, Amy Nettleton. Keeping it real. Love your Prezi. Be bold, be brave, be you. Personal brand journey. So she's enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Laura Weston from Honeycomb Group.
Laura.
You know, so Fab Comms are a session with the network queen. So a lot of people have taken the pics of that slide there. So good one for a leader like me, I think, Advita. Gemma Robinson, also colleague, she's asked for a pay rise as well. So answers on a postcard for you there. She's got a picture of her dog. I don't know what breed that is, Gemma.
She is like a little, I'm going to get this wrong, Gemma. She's like a little husky, but she's not a husky because she's way smaller than that. Her name's, what's the Frozen? I've got kids. What's the Frozen characters? Elsa. Her name's Elsa.
That doesn't tell me.
Gemma will tell us. I can't. She looks like a little husky thing.
That's fine. Thank you for that. And so we've had Be More Pig. We've had dogs this morning. So today is Comms Pets. I think today is the theme. So bang on the money at 12. Thank you. We thought we might be running over time, but we haven't. So well done to Amy for pulling that back and keeping on time. Really appreciate that. So can we have a show of appreciation for the network queen herself?
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry for the crap tech and stressing you out, Asif, but thanks ever so much. This
is calm. I've been taking Anik Simpson's advice. There's no chance of burnout here. So thank you. Oh, hang on. There's one question from Nick Cullen. Important question from me, communications manager at PA Housing. Got to get this one in. Important question from me. So when did you last go for a run, Amy?
I'm not answering that, Nick. And I thought we were friends, so that's it. I'm unfollowing you now.
Right, so thank you very much, Amy. That was fascinating. Slides, recordings on demand will all be available later. So we know we've got back into the social lounge. Eat whilst you're at the social lounge if you want to. It's not a problem, because if you were at a real event, you would be eating and talking to people. So please don't think you can't eat on camera. You can. So we've got Frank Sinclair with another lunchtime yoga, the second of 3. That's at 12:15 to 12:30. With Darren Thomas, he was scheduled to be in at 12:30. We're not. He's had something personal that you need to attend to. So if he's not on at 12:30, you'll still be in the social lounge, and it'll be open as normal. Continue eating whilst you're doing that if you want. But please keep networking. Table selfies. Win some Sharpies. They are real. These are not for display purposes. We are sending them out to people.
Did speakers get those?
Only if you go networking, and the only people who are exempt are myself and the resource team. So we're not allowed there in the T's and C's. So just to let you, we've had loads of people who have tweeted pics and who are in the hat. The names are in the hat. So Laura Weston, Chloe from Honeycomb, Francesca Carpanini, Keith Riley, Gemma Sutcliffe, Rachel Miller, Carrie-Anne Wade, Sophie Bowyer, Damien Vizard, Naomi Jones, Ed Thomas, Gemma Dunn, Jodie Green, Kasira Ahmed. So there's so many names in the hat, but there'll only be 5 winners today. So if you don't win today, it doesn't matter. Come back tomorrow or Friday. So thank you very much to everyone for joining in, the questions and the comments. Keith Riley's asked, am I up for a double win? No, apologies, you're exempt, but have a go anyway. And Nick Cullen has said, I love you really. So you can catch up with the comments. Amy will be networking and schmoozing her way through the tables. Join her, link up with her on umpteen social platforms. Not on LinkedIn. She doesn't do LinkedIn. She's on there. She doesn't do LinkedIn.
I find it a bit boring.
Yeah, but Twitter, she's all over it. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.